Before proceeding this morning, I would like to take a moment to extend our special thanks to our sponsors this year, without whom we would be unable to host our annual conferences. They are the Ontario Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration, Ontario Ministry of Education, Workplace PLIR from Manitoba, the Government of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia Ministry of Labour and Workforce Development, the Government of Saskatchewan, Workplace Learning PEI, Government of the Yukon, and Ryerson University in Toronto. All our sponsors are listed in your program and on signage near the registration desk. We are sincerely grateful for their support. Please join me now in thanking our sponsors with whom this event would not be possible. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge our international delegates in the conference, both in person and those joining us in a webcast. Countries represented include Australia, Belgium, Bermuda, Cameroon, Estonia, Germany, Mauritius, New Zealand, Qatar, Scotland, South Africa, the Democratic Republic Congo, United Kingdom, and United States of America. Not bad, eh? This has been a very significant weekend for many of us. It marked the first face-to-face meeting of the Pan-Canadian Strategic Advisory Panel for the Recognition of Prior Learning. All provincial and territorial jurisdictions have appointed representatives, as well as the federal government, NGOs, and other national organizations. And if the synergies experienced on Friday are any indication of what is to come, the panel holds great promise for the future. It is clear when policymakers and practitioners come together, absolutely wonderful things happen. A special thanks goes out to Kathleen Morrow from the International Qualifications Assessment Service in Alberta, representing the Alliance of Credential Evaluation Services of Canada, for facilitating on Friday. And you will hear more about the work of the panel at our closing plenary and on the Capitol website. At this time, I would now like to introduce the Capitol Board of Directors, many of whom participated in the panel discussion on Friday. Actually, we think we are now permanent residents of Toronto because we've been here for so long. As I call your name, I would like the board members to stand, and we'll start from the West Coast. Patrick Donahoe. Patrick's from BC. We have Amanda Roberts from Alberta. And I just found out our son and Amanda live just like a few doors apart. Literally. Graham McTavish from Saskatchewan. Where's Graham? Deb Blower from Manitoba. Janet Lang and Martha Ireland from Ontario. Millie McKenzie from PEI and currently stationed in Qatar. Back there. Board members who were unable to be here but send their best wishes, and we'll start on the East Coast. Pat Roberts from Newfoundland Labrador, Diane Burt from New Brunswick, Phil Mondor from Ontario, and Sylvia Pravinsky from Manitoba. Excuse me. We have a new face at CAPLA, or more specifically, CAPLA's Recognition for Learning Community of Practice. I would like Jane McLaren to stand up and be recognized. Where is Jane? There she is. So now you have a face to the name, and we expect you to send all kinds of information Jane's way so she can continually update our RFL website. And it's going to be a new face on our website and a new face running our website. Absolutely no discussion on the RFL website would be complete without Gail Hall's name being mentioned. Gail's contribution, ranging from website and webcasting to proposal and report writing, has been invaluable, both to the success of the RFL site and to CAPLA. Although she is moving on, Gail is still providing leadership for the International PLA Network, for which we are extremely grateful. The CAPLA Board of Directors would like to give Gail a little token of her appreciation for her outstanding contributions. Gail, if you could come up. Where is Gail?
I just want to say thank you very much. And, you know, one of the things that happens with this whole network in RPL is that you never get rid of anybody because there's too much here to get to leave to go anywhere else. So thank you very much and look forward to the session.
And she put that so sweetly, but actually she's not allowed to go. Now I'd like to introduce Darcy Martin. As many of you know, Alan Thomas died this past summer. Alan's contribution to the field of PLAR has extended over many years. In fact, he was a recipient of a Recognizing Learning Award in 2001 in Nova Scotia. Darcy has kindly offered to share some reflections over the 40-year association with Alan. Darcy is an adult educator and social activist who has worked primarily as a labor educator for the past 30 years. He was active in Ontario and on national task forces on prior learning assessment and recognition throughout the 1990s. Since 2000, he has coordinated the Centre of Study of Education and Work, which brings together academics and unionists at OISE University of Toronto. And that centre has been a resource to CAPLA from its very inception. Please welcome Darcy Martin.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for asking me to talk about my friend and mentor, Alan Thomas. I was pleased to see in the program that we have from 9 until 10:30 for this. And I was therefore puzzled at Bonnie's instruction that I should make it brief. I have a few quotations that I'd like to share with you as a way of celebrating the contributions of this Renaissance person. When I first met Alan was in the early 70s, and I saw him as one of a little group of white guys, old white guys, right? I don't know what you're seeing in front of you, but what I see in the mirror looks a bit like that nowadays. But it was people like Roby Kidd, Don Brundage, and others who really set up a professional capacity for adult education and sustained its perspective as a force for democracy and participation. So Alan was a model and mentor to many of us. Here's the first quote, and it's from Alan. "Education is a small craft that floats upon a sea of learning." This idea that educators might think with some humility about the range of learning that adults are engaged in has been an article of faith, I think, for many of us. And those of us who participate as educators, and most of us do in one way or another, are reminded that there is a whole sea around us, and we can choose to engage with it and explore it or not. But those are Alan's words. Second is a quote from a friend of Alan's. You might recognize it. "The medium is the message." This was a sort of gangly punk academic named Marshall McLuhan, and it's claimed that he actually coined that phrase in conversations with Alan as they were walking around debating whether new media mattered or not. And this is in a period way before the internet or any of those innovations. So that's a quote from one of his friends. Another quote from Alan. Learning cannot be compelled. Of course, you can require people to sit at a desk. You can force people to write exams. You can insist that people pass certifications. But you cannot actually compel that inner, intimate experience that people have of choosing to grow or to reject. And holding on to that intimate level of personal control was always an article of faith for Alan. Some of us who are more critical around social structures may engage with Alan as a sparring partner. Certainly I did over the years. But I was always moved by his genuine commitment to the control of individuals over their lives. So, learning cannot be compelled. He did a book, a great book, called Beyond Education, which you might want to consult at some point, and it shows up in that book. Next is a quote. As I said, this was in the 70s, and at heart I'm an archivist. I dug out my old copy. This is from the FAURE report, F-A-U-R-E, 1974. It was an international commission on adult learning, and it's cited in a book by Roby Kidd, the close friend of Alan's, and the quote is this: "The future belongs to those able to bring protest movements, democratic participation, and creative irrationality, and the power residing in operational, scientific, and rational organizations together and incorporate them into education." Alan always saw protest and challenge as a force for development, and he saw tension as a source for progress. So rather than smacking down people that disagreed, he would encourage and explore. It's a remarkable and rare quality. All of us have moments where we feel dogmatic and sure. Somehow through all those years, Alan sustained a tone of uncertainty, of creative doubt. And that's certainly reflected on this quote. You can relax, there's just two more. Here's Alan. With educational institutions, you can count on two things. You will have to pay them, and they will give you some form of certification. What you do with between those two transactions is up to you. I think that, again, this is on the limits. Remember, Alan taught as a professor at the University of Toronto. I'm not going to go into his biography. You can Google his name. It's all there. But this idea that there is an institutional life around learning, and then there is a personal dynamic around learning, and that those two may be in tension, but when they are, it's still creative, what's characteristic of him. Apart from Marshall McLuhan and Roby Kidd, another person that Alan, dealing with older white guys, that Alan spent time with was a fellow named Paulo Freire. Some of you may know of. Paulo wrote a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which for many people that are of a social activist persuasion like myself is a kind of core text about the idea that education is for freedom and not for domestication. And the quote from Paulo, whom Alan met, Alan interviewed, Alan helped to do a course actually in Toronto, is just simply, there is no neutral education. Education either works to liberate or to domesticate. And the choice of where you put your energies is yours. So that's a bit of profile of Alan. As I say, my friend, my mentor, and my sparring partner. There are two things that are current that will sustain the memory of Alan, and I invite you to check them out. One is an outfit called the Carold Institute. That's C-A-R-O-L-D. They actually administer the Alan Thomas Fellowships, which are given out each year to people who are active in the adult education field in mid-career to buy time, to have a year out of their regular work and to be able to reflect. Alan set this up, and he gathered the money to put it together, and he said people who are active in this field get exhausted. They need time to rest and reflect. Let's gather the money to make that possible. If you go on the Carold Institute website, you'll find the names of current and past holders of that award, and you'll find more about Alan, including quotes from many of his friends. And lastly, just to mention, on March 4th and 5th, there is a celebration of Alan Thomas's contributions to adult learning. That's March 4th and 5th at OISE, the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, here in Toronto. The details of that are available from Sarah McKittrick, but Bonnie has agreed to take this notice, which came from Joy Van Cleef, who knows about everything. If people don't know Joy Van Cleef, she's very quiet, but she knows everything. She's at the back in the middle, hiding at the moment. But seek her out if you want to know about this. It is a whole day of celebration of Alan and of engagement with his ideas. After all, he would not have wanted to be sustained as an artifact. He would have wanted to be engaged with as part of a dialogue. And that's what the event on March 4th and 5th at OISE will help to do, as will the Carold Institute, and all of us will, who cared about him. So I think we can be grateful for his contributions to this branch of adult learning and to his wider contribution to the field and to the critical spirit of inquiry. So thank you for remembering with me a beautiful guy, Alan Thomas.